How's it going, guys? This is Ketchup here once again. I thought I'd start with something a little bit swaggy, but this is another tech video for Injustice 2, but this time we're going to focus on Brainiac. I'm going to try and keep this one short and sweet, but there's a little bit to go over here, and it's not just combos and setups, but it's how to get the discussion going about the potential of using different button configs when you play Brainiac in particular. First things first, none of this tech is my own. I didn't find it, I didn't discover it. It's all taken heavily inspirational, or inspiration is taken from Emperor Price, who has loads of different tech videos on Twitter that I will link you guys to in the description, and Perfect Legend. Now, Perfect Legend did really impressive stuff with Brainiac at Evo, and it got me really wanting to just sit in training and get some execution down for this character, because he made it look really fun. And on Twitter, Price has been showing some really sick tech. Now, all of this stuff involves the next level of Brainiac execution, which is not only using his trait and combos, which is the basic, and using setups for the bomber drone or whatever you want to do, and then mixing like that, which is the traditional Brainiac, the simple Brainiac, I guess you could say. But the next level is holding down the drone and releasing it at certain points in combos to extend juggles in a different way that is only possible because you're holding it down. However, the only reason we're able to pull off these combos on a control pad is because we've rebound what our trait button is. It is no longer 4. 4 is now stance change. I specifically have changed my trait button to LT on a PS4 pad, which is L2, sorry, on a PS4 pad. Too much Xbox. But you guys get the idea. So I'm going to talk about why that's useful in due time. But first of all, I want to show you why it's useful and the kind of combos and setups you can get from it. So this came from a big sort of compilation video on Price's Twitter. And again, I'll link that. But the important thing to bear in mind is that you can combo an overhead or a low using the trait meterlessly and loop the situation straight back into itself in the corner. So the low will come from down 1, which is one of the rare cases when a down 1 is actually a low, or instant dive kick, which is an instant overhead. This obviously means down 1 and instant overhead are both unreactable. You cannot react to it, so it's a true 50-50. If it lands, you can combo off both of them. So using the trait, we're going to do down 1 first. As you can see, that's a full combo. We're going to go for the overhead now, which is the same deal. And that's because we held down the trait. Now, we're able to set up the held down drone because the down forward 2 gives a huge amount of knockdown. So we're going to go for just a regular knockdown here and just kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about. That was a setup of which we were able to go for the extra drone. And the low option is down 1 charge into release. And the meterless overhead is instant dive kick into release. But both follow-ups will be the same. This is the main thing to factor in here for easy, consistent damage, is that both conversions will go into down 2 trait, into standing 3, down forward 2, but they'll start differently. So the low is down 1, back forward 3, into a release, but then we go for the same ender. And the overhead is the same thing, but we go dive kick, instant launch, into the same ender once again. That's the absolute basic of the meterless overhead and the meterless low. Once you get the execution down, it's quite simple. My first piece of advice is not to do down 1 into back forward 3. Look at my button log. Don't do down 1, back forward 3 as quickly as possible. Do down back 1 as one input, like a diagonal down back, into an instant 3. So diagonal down back 1 into forward 3. That should be your input for this. Because if you do it consistently, as you can see there, if you do it correctly, which I haven't a couple of times, you'll get it easily every single time, because the down back 1, the diagonal down back 1, will already count as down 1 and the back for the back forward 3. So if you're holding down the drone, that is a much more consistent way of doing it. And just to give you guys a little bit of a heads up, that took me a while to figure out, and I finally got it in the end, and it's made combos much easier. So that's the basic. When you go for the overhead dive kick or the low down 1, the held down trait allows us to combo off those. You can go for some other setups too. So you can go for a setup like this and go for the same kind of mix up. Let's just do it again. Oops, I let it a bit early. Or a bit late, I should say. Whoopsie-daisy. Forward dash jump 2. That setup right there is really dirty because you land in front. You actually land in front when you go for you land in front when you do the neutral jump, and then the dive kick hits behind, almost like it's like a Black Adam style of tech. But my execution's not going to be on point here purely because I'm new to these setups, so I'm still kind of getting the muscle memory. But I'm trying to sort of demonstrate the idea. And there are a couple of setups that you can do. I mean, a final one, just to demonstrate before we talk about rebinding buttons, is you can actually go for the 4-2-3, which is a hard knockdown, but instead of just dedicating to the bomb, which is the easier setup, which still works wonders, don't get me wrong, it still works really well, but another setup you can do with this kind of thing in mind is you go for a launch and you end it in 4-2-3, hold down into instant dive kick, you can combo off it and it lands in front, and if they don't delay their wake up, then they have to hold that instant forward dive kick, which then goes into a drone, and 4-2-3 is a hard knockdown, so they can't tech roll, they can only delayed wake up. And if you go for a late dive kick off this, it actually lands behind. And as you can see, that can actually combo. And when that combos, Superman will get knocked behind me, and I still keep them in the corner. So if I do it early, dive kick hits in front. If I do it late, dive kick will hit behind in that setup in particular. And depending on when you let go of the drone, which will be a consistent combo once you get the muscle memory down, you can combo off both of them, and now it's a 50-50 between in front or behind. It all comes down to execution. When you let go of the drone is different depending on what combo you've gone for. So the down one, you got to let go of the drone a little bit later because it gives you that extra juggle, but you still got to give yourself time to recover from the charge animation. So if you do it late, you can go for the combo. The dive kick, though, is a different story. You have to let go of the drone almost immediately because when the dive kick connects, if you do it too late, they will immediately fall down. So I deliberately did it too late there so they would fall out. So the dive kick, you've got to do it really early. And for the low, you've got to do it late, and then it will work out. So that's just the absolute core of those two moves. Now, I've gone over a couple of setups here involving the late call, and all of it is viable because we've got the knockdown of the down forward 2 into splat. And if they're in the air, the splat lasts longer, that's why it works. But finally, why this is effective on a control pad. On a stick, it's not as much of a problem because you've got all of your buttons there. The way you play on the stick means nothing's really going to get in the way. On a control pad, if I'm using a traditional control pad method where I've got my index fingers on the triggers and I have my thumbs on, D-pad and the face buttons, holding down trait with my thumb and then doing these combos is just really awkward. Way too awkward to be worthwhile. Instead, those of you that have been paying attention, I've got my trait set to L2 or LT, depending on what kind of control pad you're playing on. This way, I'm holding down my trait using my left index finger, and my right thumb, of which I use all the buttons for, has complete freedom to do whatever it wants with whatever move I want to do, and nothing is going to be in the way, which is why these combos with enough practice become really easy to do, because now I can focus on the combo as always, and now there's nothing holding me back. I can do whatever I want, because all I have to focus on is letting go of my left index finger at the right time, which, yes, is another element of execution, but at least it's not going to get in the way of my button inputs. So I truly think that if you're going to play on a control pad and use a traditional style, and you're not going to claw it almost as if you were a Tekken player, because you need those shoulder buttons. You do need the shoulder buttons, and that's why you don't really see players using the claw hand style on their controller. This way, I think it will really help you maximize how to play with Brainiac. But basically, guys, that's it for today. I didn't want to go too long into this, but there was quite a lot to get through. Once again, huge shouts to Perfect Legend, huge shouts to Emperor Price. Both of these guys putting in work with Brainiac and experimenting on how to maximize this character further. I do truly think he is better than some people make out. I think he has a lot of potential. If he gets a couple of buffs here and there, he could even become a real problem if he gets buffed. But even in his current state, bar a few matchups, I think he's a dangerous character. So thank you very much for watching. We are back from Evo now, so we're going to try and resume our regular content for all the games that we enjoy. And I will see you next time. Take care, guys.